Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Passion from Pain, the show where we face the hard truths head on and turn them into power, purpose, and presence. Around here, we don't run from our pain, we learn from it, rise through it, and use it to transform not just our lives, but the world around us. Today, we're diving into a conversation that goes straight to the heart of healing, not the polished version of it, but the real raw process of reclaiming yourself after trauma. My guest, Santa Molina-Marshall, is a force of wisdom and compassion. She's a licensed clinical social worker, somatic experiencing practitioner, massage therapist, yoga teacher, Reiki master, and interfaith minister, a true pioneer who bridges science and spirit. For over 3 decades, she's been on the front lines of healing trauma and sexual violence, guiding individuals towards empowerment, wholeness, and liberation. As the founder of Holistic Psychotherapy by Santana LLC, or Santa, LLC, and the author of Running Through Darkness, Memoir of Spiritual Warfare, Santa brings a holistic approach that honors the body, mind, and the soul, because true healing doesn't just happen in pieces. Okay, it happens in unity. Her story, her presence, her message remind us that pain doesn't have to be the final word. Transformation does. So settle in, take a deep breath, and get ready for a conversation that will challenge, ground, and awaken you all at the same time. This is Passion from Pain, and I'm honored to welcome Santa Molina-Marshall. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
Your excitement is infectious. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you for the invitation. You know, when I saw the name of your podcast, Passion from Pain, I thought, I can absolutely relate to passion from pain. As you said, I've been in the field of trauma, and I am a trauma specialist now for over 35 years.
Wow.
And I came through because of my own experience. So, a little bit of background. I am from the Dominican Republic. I am 63 years old, and I was sexually abused by my sister and her husband. And so, as a kid, I just want to take a moment there because one would say, wow, that's a lot, that's deep. And for those who are listening, it may even be triggering to hear that. So, I just want to honor that, what I just put out there, and invite everyone to just take a deep breath, yeah, and settle into knowing that in this moment, there is no pain for me. And I have transformed that pain into the passion in the work that I do. And that is possible for every single one of us, Amy. We need to be able to know that, to just know that our pain are lessons, and they can really break us down and leave us down, or they can actually break us open and get us to a place of transformation. And that's what's happened for me. So, for the last 35 years, I've been working with women and men who've been sexually abused as children, as adults. It's become my passion. It's become what I do because I know it inside out. I don't necessarily believe that you need to be a survivor of something to help others, but it does make a difference when you have experienced it, when I have experienced it. And I can say, I hear you. I don't know your story, but I know mine, and I know how challenging it was. So today I run what is Holistic Psychotherapy by Santa, which is a private practice where I offer individual, groups, events, all kinds of different settings of events. I go out and speak to groups, as well as go out and serve as an interventionist when there's a crisis. I get called and I go out and I support people. And the reason why it's holistic psychotherapy is because for many years, well, first of all, you already mentioned, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So that's my formal education. I have many other degrees, but all the other things I gained looking for how do I heal myself, not how do I understand myself. Talk therapy was really helpful in me understanding what happened, having someone
Mhm.
hear my story, having someone reflect back and say, Santa, you were a kid. It was not your fault, which is often where survivors go. What did I do? What could I have done differently? And most often, we're not the perpetrators. We're the ones that are being perpetrated upon. So it was
Yep.
helpful to hear somebody say, you were a kid, they were adults. They were responsible for setting the boundaries, not you. But
Yep.
then what? I had all this information. I understood family dynamics. I understood dysfunction. I understood the impact of that experience, the impact of my dad being an alcoholic, my mom having major depression. I understood all of that, but why couldn't I feel better? And that's when I became the warrior in searching for my own healing journey, understanding that talk therapy was just not doing it for me. It wasn't enough. It was important, and I'm not putting it down, but it just wasn't
Sure.
enough. I needed to run. I needed to pray. I needed to scream. I needed to chant. I needed to drum. I needed to dance. I needed to draw. I needed crystals, essential oils. I needed sweat lodges. I needed everything. And so my book,
Mhm.
Running Through Darkness, is that. It's the story of all the things that I discovered along the way, including discovering that the God that I grew up with was very limiting. I grew up as Catholic being told that God was either a rewarding God or a punishing God. But where was God when I was being sexually abused as a kid? So I had a lot of confusion. Today, I am an interfaith minister because I needed to understand a little bit more. What is this thing people call God? Understanding that God, first of all, I am God. And I don't say that from an egoistical place. We are goddesses. If they say we were
Right.
created in the name of God, then we are God. And so that was the first thing I came to understand. And so, how do I align being abused with being a goddess? And it was searching for my goodness, searching for my power. And in the process of all of that, discovering that each individual has that own ability, their own ability to really hone in on what's going to do it for you. Because everybody has a different journey and everybody needs
Mhm.
something to heal. And so holistic
Yep.
psychotherapy was born, and that's what I do today. So again, thank you, Amy. Thank you so much for
Wow.
teaching from pain. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. And you tell your story so beautifully and with such compassion for others that are listening because you do understand what just even mentioning those words can do to somebody who's listening, and so I really appreciate that. And the fact too that you just embody the whole process of healing rather than just talking to a therapist, or just medication, or just the somatic healing side, or the physical side, or the spiritual side. It is a it's a package deal. You do have to address everything in order to move forward, and that's why this I created this platform, was to
Yeah.
bring all those ideas to one platform so people can get the information that they need to go on their healing journey. Because you're right, it is not a linear process. It is not step 1 2 3. It is different in a very individual and private experience for
Mhm.
every person who has been traumatized by something.
Mhm.
And so that's what I love about what you're doing, is you package everything together that really needs to be
Mhm.
addressed with somebody who's been
Mhm.
through something.
Yeah, yeah. I like saying, some people say to me, so does that mean you will start praying over me? I said, no. I'll pray with you if you ask for that, right? If
Hmm.
you say, I
Yep.
believe in God, then I'm going to talk a whole lot about God. But if you tell me you're an atheist, then maybe we'll chant instead, or maybe we'll drum
Hmm.
instead. We're going to find what
Hmm.
works for you. And that's what's important, right? In this
Yep.
healing journey, is that we find, because the reality is, even though we've suffered, we've been surviving. How do you
Hmm.
survive? So that's my first question to my clients, Amy, is, so what's been working for you? Yeah, you're coming to see a therapist. Yes, you feel like you're broken. Yes, you had a horrific experience. But what is it that's been working for you? What gets you up every morning? Even if you get up and you're depressed, what is that thing? And
Yep.
that's the place to start, right? What do you already
Mhm.
know about yourself and about what you need in order to feel like living is worth it, right? That's where
Mhm.
we're going to start. And then I'm going to introduce you to all kinds of things. If it resonates, we go with it. If it doesn't, we move to the next thing. But that's my job, is to help you discover like what is it that was taken, right? And
Mhm.
often that's what happens in abuse. People are left feeling like something core was taken from them. Sometimes
Yeah.
people call me and I take it on. It's like doing soul retrieval. The soul is there,
Mm.
the soul is not gone. It's lost,
Yep.
it's in the shadows, right? We've
Mhm.
abandoned that part of us, but it's there. Let's find it and let's energize it and let's kind of present
Yep.
it again to ourselves, right?
Yep. Almost like pulling them out of purgatory, essentially. Just bringing them back, to
Exactly.
themselves. That's kind of
Exactly.
where they're at. You get
Exactly.
that numb
Yeah,
feeling, and yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing, and I love it. I
absolutely.
love it
Yeah.
you got going on. And
Yeah.
just the fact that you start with, okay, what have you tried? What do you know? Instead of just throwing stuff at them. And you take into account the healing experience they've already tried, at least, and
Absolutely.
take that into
Absolutely.
account.
I mean, the other thing is, and this is something that I have to give social work school credit for. Um,
Yeah.
we were told you meet the client where the client is, right? And to me,
Mm.
that's how that gets interpreted: is I'm going to meet you where you are. What is it that you already have that's worked? And then
Hmm.
the other thing is that I believe, and this may be the spiritual part of me, because I believe that we were all created in divineness. I believe that we all
Hmm.
have the ability to get well.
Hmm.
And I am going to believe that and I'm going to trust that until you can believe it, right? So I'm going to hold that. I don't hold my clients in pathology. Oh, you're ill. Yeah, you've gone through something. And it
Hmm.
is crazy making sometimes the things that we go through, right? The
Oh
experiences that
yeah.
people have. However, I know that you are whole. And that's what I mean. I know
Hmm.
that you're whole, and I am going to believe that. And I'm going to lend you my hope until you're able to hope for yourself and until you get back to believing that. And there's something
I
really
love it.
easeful about that. When I say that to clients,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. You don't have to believe it right now. You don't have to believe that
Hmm.
you're going to get well, but I know you will. And so trust that I'm
Hmm.
going to bring you back to that. And my job also is I'm going to highlight every aspect of what you're doing that's working. Because
Hmm.
when we've experienced trauma, when we grew up in environments that are negative, we take that persona on. We believe what people
Oh yeah.
say. You're a loser, you're never going to amount to anything, you don't know anything, you only find trouble. We start believing those things, right? So
Hmm.
every time that you come up with, a person I'm working with, comes up with a negative thought, I'm going to challenge that. I am
Yeah.
going to challenge
Then it's
that. I'm going to say, is that true? Or is that just something you took on? Is it
mm-hmm.
true? Is that your truth? Right?
Or is
That's
that
the other
them
thing
still
that's
talking
really
in your head?
important. Yeah. Say that again, Amy. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, or is that them just still talking and living in your head?
Yes.
After
Yes.
what you've been
Yes.
through.
Yes. I have a client who likes saying, and I love this. She says, Santa, what I learned from you is that those voices don't pay rent. And so I don't need to give them any energy, right? The voices in her head, she says, they don't pay rent. I don't have to give them any energy. And the voices are there, and sometimes they're
Yeah.
really loud and uncomfortable. And
Sure.
so we need to hear them and assess, are they true or not? Question
Yep.
ourselves, right? Very
Mhm.
important. Um,
Oh, for sure. And when I was putting this together, I was going through the same thing. Can I do this? Can I figure it out? Can I figure out the microphone and the camera technology? Can I put a podcast together? Am I smart enough to talk to people about what I've been through? Am I strong enough to talk to people about what I've been through? And so it all the whole time my brain is telling me, well, no, you're not. You can't do this. Why do you think you could do this? What experience do you have doing this? And I just had to, at every step of the way, push myself past that negative self-talk and just get myself past it. And it was difficult. And there was days that, absolutely it made me want to quit. But,
mm,
I would just
mm.
get up the next day and forget that it even happened and just pick up where I left off. And I'm so glad I did, because I'm talking to really cool people and helping a bunch of others who really need it in the process.
Well, the thing is that things are challenging and sometimes they're scary, but they don't need to paralyze us, right?
Right.
There's a title of a book, it's a very old book, and I don't even know if it's still in print, but the title was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, right? Like it's
Oh, I love it.
okay to feel fear. Fear doesn't mean don't do it, you can't do it, right? It doesn't mean because it's painful, you can't move through it. And somehow we believe at times that if something's too hard, then that means it's not achievable. It just means that it's challenging, right? But that we can still achieve it. I want to say something also, Amy, about the last piece of work that I added to my kind of basket of how I do the work that I do. And that is really honoring the body and the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times these voices have been created by the people who tell us these things and also by parts of us who that have been trying to manage and support us. So the voice that says you can't is a negative voice. I may have gotten that from my parents, but I may have also
Mm-hmm.
gotten that from a part of me that's saying, "Ooh, if you try and you fail, it's going to be devastating for you. So why not tell yourself you can't, and this way it'll be easier, right?" Or the voice that says, "I don't want to date. I never want to date again. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to." When in reality, I crave connection. That voice that says, "I don't want to date," may simply be the voice that's trying to protect me from the harm that dating has
Mm-hmm.
caused, right? So I always say to clients, let's listen to those voices. And if
Mm-hmm.
they're not helpful, decide that they're no longer useful. If they're not
Mm-hmm.
helpful, they're no longer useful. That doesn't mean that at some point telling myself, "Oh, you're fat and ugly," that may have been helpful. That may have been the thing that kept me from feeling safer in the world. I don't know if I'm making any
Mm-hmm.
sense, right? The voice that said you're
No,
fat
you
and
are.
ugly, yeah, at some point was keeping me safe. But is it
Mm-hmm.
useful
Sure.
today? Is it useful?
Right.
Do
No.
I need that today? Right? Do I need those
Yeah.
voices that are limiting me today? If I do, then okay, then let's figure out a different voice that's helpful and kind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some people say, well, I don't want to trash the part of me that was like the drinking, for example. I drink because it was helpful. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
understand getting drunk every night because the feelings are too big, too scary, too
Sure.
painful. But do you need that today? Are your feelings
Yeah.
so big, so painful? Is your life really that scary today? Or is it now a habit that's become an addiction and something I just do and think I need to keep doing? Right? So, really
Mm-hmm.
questioning the voices and the behaviors and the patterns is extremely important. People would say,
Oh,
but how
absolutely.
do I calm myself down? What do I do when
Mm-hmm.
I am feeling like I'm out of control and that a drink or a hit of something is what's going to help? Well, maybe there's something you can do about calming your nervous system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's some resources that you have that help you calm the nervous system. Maybe there's some breathing. Maybe there's a
Mm-hmm.
bath. Maybe there's a friend you can talk to. Maybe there's a way in which you can hold yourself, touch yourself, right? Maybe it's something you can smell. Like, what are all the many
Mm-hmm.
things that help to calm you down? so that you can then ask yourself, do I really need another drink? Or do I just
Mhm.
need to go lay down, go hug a tree?
Yeah.
I mean, there's millions of things, right?
Oh, for sure.
Right? How can we create a little bit of space so that we begin to have access to not just the things that are not good for us, but the things that are
Yeah.
calming us, right?
Hmm. Absolutely. And it can be difficult to find what those things are sometimes, especially when we've got all that nonsense going on in our heads.
Mhm.
For me, it was, it I just couldn't quiet the mind even when I would try to do breathing or meditation or anything like that. But I found that I needed to go out in nature is what did it for me. And I had to go outside. I had to be with the trees. I had to feel the breeze. I had to hear the birds. I had to feel the dampness or the moisture in the air if it was kind of raining. I just needed that physical stimulation from the natural environment to just calm everything down for me. And that's really what did it for me. Otherwise, I just couldn't turn it off. But the
Mhm.
other distraction just from nature is really what turned it off for me.
Yeah, and so it's about us trying to figure out what is that, right? What are the many things? And the reality is that you were lucky to find that nature did it for you and that it's consistent. Because for some people, one day it's nature, the next day nature is too scary, and the next day it's
Sure.
something different. But if we have, I like calling it a resource bank. If we have a very hefty resource bank, I can pick one thing. If that doesn't work, I'll pick the other. If that doesn't work, I have something else, right? But
Hmm.
what is it that does it for you? And again,
Hmm.
different things will work even for the same individual at different times. I have a client, I love telling this story. She goes around with a cup, a mega cup, a huge cup filled with ice.
Hmm.
And sister, I tell you, Amy, she wears the ice. She eats the ice. She drops it in her bra. She puts it up and down her arm. She puts ice on her head. Ice is her thing, right?
Wow.
So she carries a cup of ice. And when she doesn't bring it into session, I'm like, are you okay? You don't have your ice today. Oh, I left it in the car. Right? That's a sign that she's getting better. But for her, it's ice. For other people,
Sure.
it's something warm, something
Yeah.
hard to hold on to, right?
Hmm.
For some people, the idea of being out in the woods and their feet in the mud can just make them crazy. And for
Yep.
others, maybe like you, hugging a tree, feeling the moist of the earth is what does it, right?
Yep.
A bath, is it a shower? Is it a
Hmm.
good run? Like what gets your heartbeat to calm down, whatever that is. And there's no right or wrong, right? But being able to introduce something that's
Hmm.
helpful and keeping tabs, keeping a
Hmm.
list. Because again, in the moment when we are spiraling with either negative thoughts or anxiety or panic, we can't really think. It is
Hmm.
not neurologically possible to think when you're in that state of arousal.
Yeah.
Because the idea is your nervous system is saying, in a state of arousal, your nervous system is saying, Amy, you're in danger and just take action,
Yeah.
right? So there's no thinking. But if you have a book, a notebook, a list, if you have a symbol on you that
Hmm.
says, what I do is breathe, or what I do is call on Pat, or what I do, whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
Then you just do that automatically. But you need to have it accessible so
Yep.
that
And
you
that's
don't think too much about it.
Yep, absolutely. And that's one thing that I talk about a lot on the podcast is doing this kind of work when you are calm and doing those deep dives and then having that just a short list available and easily accessible when these feelings come on. That way you're not making emotional decisions. You've already thought this out on the intellectual side of things when you were calm, and you've
Right,
got your action plan just ready to go. You just need to do, because that's all your body wants to do in that moment is just do something to make this
right,
stop.
right,
And when
right.
you've got that all laid out and you've figured it out ahead of time, it just makes it so much smoother and you can get there so much quicker and easier.
That plan of action.
Yep.
The plan of
Yep.
action, right? Don't wait until you're in the midst of a domestic violence dispute to
Yep.
think through what I need to have with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have a bag ready.
Mm-hmm.
Have the numbers of the people you're going to call. Have
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that you need. Pre-plan so that in
Yeah.
that moment of crisis, you don't have to think through where's the extra spare key. You know where it is because you've planned it that way. Well, the
Yep.
same thing happens when we're having an internal fight, right? When the experience is you on your own, you must have a plan of action. Know who are your resources. What are your resources? Very, very important. You also, when you talked about the earth, it made me think about how much just feeling grounded can be helpful. And that
Oh
could
yeah.
be on the earth, or that could be just laying on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just leaning up against a wall, like feeling a hard surface around you helps to create that sense of I'm grounded and I'm
Mm-hmm.
safe, right?
Yeah.
So again, different people, you have to figure out what works for you. But
Mm-hmm.
please, I just totally beg you, those of you that are listening, to create your resource bank. Have
Mm-hmm.
lots of different opportunities of things that you can do at different times, right? I love doing this, holding my cheeks and taking a
Holding.
deep, right? It just,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm telling the kid, it's okay, sweetie. It's
Yeah.
okay, right? That really helps. For some other people, that's not helpful at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love bringing my hands to my heart. There's
Mm-hmm.
something about just bringing my hands to my heart that helps me to remember, okay, come on back where you can
Mm-hmm.
assess. Using our eyes are another thing that's really helpful. And by using our eyes, I don't mean looking vigilantly, looking for where the danger is, but
Sure.
really taking in patterns, taking in colors, slowing down what I take in through my eyes, because the eyes are connected to our optic nerves, are connected to our ventral vagal nerves, which are the nerves responsible for the sense of belonging. That's why
Oh.
babies like mobiles and they look around, and that's them saying, oh, I belong to that mobile. I belong in this place, in this crib. It gives
Oh
you a
wow.
sense of belonging, which calms your nervous system. So looking at things is
Mm-hmm.
really important. Also, being aware, are you looking through things? Because sometimes you may be staring and you're looking
Mm-hmm.
way past the wall, right? You've left,
Mm-hmm.
you're dissociating. So now look at the wall, look at the grain of the paint, of the concrete, of the bricks, whatever it is, right? That
Mm-hmm.
helps to calm the nervous system. And then the breath, just really paying
Mm-hmm.
attention to your breath.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all it takes. And again, for other people, it doesn't work. So that's why we have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different options, right?
Yeah. And I think
Yeah,
it's important that if something is not working for you, you just keep trying until you find what does, because there is something that will work for you eventually. You just keep trying and don't give up on it. There's
absolutely.
something.
You can't give up on yourself, right?
No.
Um, I have clients who get a lot of benefit from working with ceramics, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
having being able to make something. So they
Mm-hmm.
love being able to mold something, work with ceramics. That gives them a sense of peace. Others
Mm-hmm.
enjoy coloring. I did a lot of coloring in adult coloring books, geometric
Mm-hmm.
coloring books, books of goddesses, books of animals with
Mm-hmm.
pencils, calming the
Mm-hmm.
mind, right? So, what
Yep.
calms your mind? You have to
Mm-hmm.
discover that. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. For me, it was refinishing furniture,
Uh huh.
sanding antique furniture down to the bare wood and just bringing it back to life. But that process of sanding and just getting into that flow state of where you're, doing the thing, but you're not thinking about what you're doing necessarily. You're just doing it. And there's just something really calming in the mind and in the body just about that flow state. And you could be thinking about what you've been through, and you could be thinking about the nonsense and whatnot, but for some reason it's in a state of mind where you're thinking about it a little more logically and looking at it less emotionally. At least it was for me. And I could then process it a lot better than just thinking about it with an emotional mind, and bringing the tears and whatnot into it. So it was really helpful.
Yes, you remind me of in my book, Running Through Darkness, and it's a story, my story of really how I embarked on my healing journey and all the different things that I discovered. So when you introduced me, you said, I have all these titles, and I have those titles because those were the things that were helpful. Yoga
Yeah.
was very helpful to me. Being able to really master my body and have it move in a way that I wanted to and connect myself to my body, to my breath, to my thoughts was just
Yeah.
magical for me. So yoga was very helpful. Um, and I talk about that in my book. But one of the things that you just reminded me in your refurbishing furniture is that I was a lot in the woods. I spent a lot of time in the woods burning wood. I would make
Okay.
these huge bonfires, just me and my dogs, two
There you
dogs
go.
and Santa, huge bonfires and just burning firewood. I would just burn. I actually, this is in my story, I had obtained 70 acres of wooded land to create a healing center. And so I told myself, I'm going to start clearing this land. So I had someone
Yeah.
come and chop down the trees, and my job was to burn them. And so a lot of my
Okay.
story, I was burning wood when memories would come and I would think about
Hmm.
them and just throw them in the fire. That was very helpful to me. I had
Hmm.
access to an open area, I had access to wood. I needed to get rid of this wood. And so I just
Hmm.
burned a lot of wood as the stories came to me.
Yeah.
Right. So understanding also the difference between an experience that I'm having in the moment and what
Hmm.
is a memory. Right? What is a
Hmm.
flashback? What is a trigger? What is a lived experience? What is a memory?
Hmm.
And being able to distinguish those things were very important to me because for years I had triggers
Hmm.
and the triggers made me believe almost like it was happening all over again when it wasn't. Right. So,
Yeah.
yes, today I understand that there's a trigger. There are things that trigger me. There are things that happen that remind me of what was going on, but that's a memory. It's not a lived experience. And
Yeah.
distinguishing that is really important, right? But this is just a memory. I'm safe in my home
Yep.
today. What happened was years ago. So when I
Yeah.
start feeling the anxiety and the experience of years ago, I need to remind myself that is not the truth right now. Because in
Yeah.
this moment, I am safe, right?
Hmm.
It's hard sometimes to separate what is a trigger from what is a flashback from what is real, right?
Oh,
And that's a
absolutely.
tricky part of the nervous system, maybe. Go ahead, please. I'm
Mm.
sorry.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you. It is the tricky part of it. Just absolutely. It's tough,
Mhm.
and it's really amazing how powerful the mind really is, and how much control it can really have over our bodies if we allow it to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have learned that what helps is slowing down myself
Mhm.
to be able to, as I said a moment ago, because the nervous system takes over and has you thinking that you're in the crisis again. I need to slow that down with a resource, right? Whatever the resource is. Remember, I have a huge bank. So now I can go to my
Mhm.
bank, pick something, calm myself down enough to say, okay, Santa, are you really endangered? Because the body tells you when something's off, right? The
Mhm.
problem is that the body, the nervous system, doesn't always know whether what it's picking up is real, imagined, or perceived. How many times do we
Mhm.
react to things because we perceive them to be dangerous, right?
Mhm.
And so,
Sure.
because the body doesn't really know, the nervous system can't distinguish whether it's real, imagined, or perceived. I need to slow it down enough to ask myself, is this real? Is there evidence that this is real? Right? The other thing is that the nervous system can't tell time. So it doesn't
Mhm.
really tell you, is this feeling from today? Is this yesterday's feeling, or is this an anxiety anticipating something? Again, another reason to slow down enough to ask myself that question. Are you
Mhm.
projecting? Are you in the future worried about something that hasn't even happened? Right?
Mhm.
But if I can't slow it down, then I believe what I'm sensing. Yeah. That's the importance of calming the nervous system. Whether you're sanding down furniture, burning wood, running in the woods, biking, taking a cold shower, or eating ice. It doesn't matter how
Mhm.
you do it, but we need to slow down enough to be able to ask that question. Is this happening right now? Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's such great advice. And it when you're in those moments and you're thinking just emotionally, it's really the toughest thing to do is to be able to just stop and and pull yourself out of that to where you can just say, hey, this is just my mind creating this. I am not in this situation anymore. And so I love all the tricks that you've just given everybody. And guys, write it down and plan ahead and know what you're going to do and just keep trying the different things to see what's going to work for you in those moments that the nervous system is just getting out of control. You've been triggered, or the anxiety is just pouring on you out of nowhere because it happens.
Right.
1 minute you're feeling great, and the next minute, just out of nowhere, there it is. And that's the toughest part of this journey, is just that out of
Absolutely.
nowhere it hits you.
And it feels like it's out of nowhere sometimes, Amy, but I also think that over time, we begin to know, like, what are the things that are triggering, right? We
Hmm.
begin to
Sure.
anticipate. And in this case, anticipate because we've experienced it before. For example,
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily like being in closed spaces without me knowing where the exit is. That can create anxiety for me. So I know that now. It's
Hmm.
okay. It's okay if I don't like being in closed spaces where I don't know where the exit is. But
Sure.
because I know that, the first thing I do when I walk into a space is I assess, oh, where's the exit? Okay, there's a window and there's a door. All right. Oof, my nervous system says, okay, if something should happen, and this is a trigger, perhaps, right? This is me anticipating something could happen. All right, well, something could happen. I don't need to fight that thought. I just need to know, what will I do if something happens, right?
Yeah.
So now that I know that there's a door and a window, I'm not sitting with my back to the door. My nervous
Hmm.
system calms down, and then from there, I can. It's not
Hmm.
that that's all there is, but from there, then I have access to asking myself, who are you with? Is it a safe place? Can you leave if you want to? Have you consented to being here? Right? Then I have enough information, as opposed to holding my breath in anxiety and in fear, and I can't think. So then whatever else
Hmm.
happens, of course, I'm going to feel like
Yeah.
it's endangering me, right? So I want
Yeah.
to start off with what I call start off with a regulated nervous system as much as
Hmm.
possible, right? Tending to what's coming up, but always asking myself, is it today? Are you worried about something that could happen right now? Or are you thinking that something could happen because something has happened, right? Which is
Hmm.
more anticipating. Yeah.
Hmm.
And are you
Yeah.
really in danger? Are you as helpless as you were when you were a kid?
Right.
Right? Are these people that you have actually checked out, that you've
Hmm.
screened, that you've been observing? Are they safe? Right?
Hmm.
Especially when it comes to childhood abuse, it's hard to distinguish who is safe because the people who've abused you have been the people who you thought were safe. Right?
Sure.
So today, if I feel that someone's unsafe, I honor that. But I don't immediately assume they're unsafe. Okay, they may be unsafe. That's what my body's telling me. So let me assess. Let me check it
Hmm.
out. Right. So, what my nervous system tells me, what my body tells me, is there is a sense of a threat. It's not, it is a threat. There's a sense. So, check it out. Be aware. Ask questions. Pay attention. Find the doors.
Hmm.
Right. Don't
Mhm.
automatically assume. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because you still want to be able to make connections and have relationships and not isolate yourself from the
absolutely.
world and from, potentially, really healing experiences with other people, because we need that. We need that connection. We need to have our tribe of people, in our life that we can turn to in moments of distress, or just for good times and laughs, because that's such a huge part of it as well, is interjecting humor and joy and good times back into life again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And keeping track of that, right? Because again, the trauma may have you thinking that life has always been bad, and that's not true. And even
Yeah.
in the midst of tragedy, there's a little bit of light, right? So, as you said, today, moving away from the years of trauma, today, paying attention to the fact that you've had some good experiences, keeping track of that, right? Keeping a tally of all the many people that you did not get hurt by. Yeah, there was somebody who hurt you. Maybe there were millions of people who hurt you, right? Okay, we keep track
Yeah.
of those. Can we keep track of the new people in our lives? The folks who have not
Mhm.
hurt us, the experiences that we've had when it has been fun, when it has been easy. We must begin to keep track of those as well. Yeah, because the pain and the
Yeah.
trauma really speaks so loud that it can cloud
Mhm.
every other experience, right? Today I woke up and I
Yeah.
haven't had a tragedy. I want to note that day, that on this day, life has been good throughout the whole
Yeah.
day. I want to remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that,
And that's such great advice.
absolutely,
That's
right?
such
Because
great advice.
again, the challenging days are going to take over. Those memories are hard. And the reason I
Yeah.
believe that the reason why the tragedy is always present is because we're trying to protect against it, right?
Yeah.
Somehow the unconscious believes if I remember, then I'm going to be able to be ready. I'm going to be able to fight back. I'm going to be able to protect myself. All right,
Mhm.
I hear that. And I also want to remember all the good times I've had since then. And even while
Mhm.
that was happening, right? But I need
Yeah.
to make an effort because that's not going to come as natural unless I
Mhm.
set an intention, right? So people talk about gratitude, like how important it is to have a gratitude list, to take
Yeah.
time each day. What are you grateful for? Even if all you're grateful for is today I didn't self harm. Wow,
Yeah.
no self harming today. Today I woke up. Today I have a home. Today I'm
Mhm.
not, whatever it is, I'm not being deported today. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about that, right?
Right.
Like, what are you grateful for?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so important.
It's so important to count those blessings and just
Mhm.
remember, that you are blessed and there are things to be grateful for in your life. And sometimes you got to work a little hard to, you know, find what that is in your life, especially if you're in that state of mind that everything is negative, and you're depressed, and you're just in that darkness. It's tough to figure out exactly what you're grateful for, but it's so important to sit down and really work that out. And once you do, you're going to start to see some really positive changes start to happen.
The other thing is, as you say that, I'm reminded of, sometimes depression is real, Amy. And by
Oh
that
yeah.
I mean, I can't think myself out of depression. I have
Yeah.
those clients as well where the depression is chronic. It's been around for so long. It may even be physiological, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, it's okay. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm depressed and I need help. Like none of
Yes.
the stuff that Amy and Santa are talking about are helpful. I can't do it. I can't get out of it. Then what do you need, right? Do you need to see a
Yeah.
doctor? Do you need to speak
Mm-hmm.
to a nurse practitioner or a psychiatrist? Do you need
Mm-hmm.
medication? Because that is okay. The important thing
Yep.
is
Oh,
for us to know
absolutely.
what is it that we need, right? There's no shame in that. If you need
Mm-hmm.
antidepressant, take them. You've tried
Yeah.
everything. Now, here's the thing that I always say to my clients: if you're going to take medication And I say this with caution because I'm not a doctor. But if you're going to take
Mhm.
medication, don't stop doing everything else that you know you can do to help yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Don't let it be your crutch. Let the
Hmm.
medication be something that gives you an opportunity. I always say to my clients, particularly those who are afraid of taking medication, I says, you know, medication is only another tool. It's another
Yeah.
resource. Maybe it'll just take the edge off so that now you can take a deep breath. Now you can
Hmm.
hold a tree. Now you can go and
Yeah.
take a swim, right? So it only takes
Hmm.
the edge off. So continue to do all the practices that you normally do to feel better because maybe, just
Hmm.
maybe, you'll find that with a little bit of the medication and all of your practices, you can function.
Hmm.
Who cares? I mean, if you
Yep.
had high blood pressure, you would take your high blood pressure medication and still do all the things like, you know, keep your heart strong and eat well and don't smoke and right. So it is not a reason to not continue to take care of yourself, right?
Right.
Nor is it something to be ashamed of. And I just wanted to say that for the listeners that may be thinking, man, these ladies think it's easy. Because some people, major depression can be really, really challenging, right? In which case,
Oh, absolutely.
you need a little bit more help. That's all.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, and there's nothing wrong with that, and in my experience in the past, I've been on medication in the past. But when I was on the medications, I wasn't doing the other things. I was just taking the pills and hoping that the pills were going to make me happy in the crappy situation that I was in.
Right.
And I had no idea that I had to do all this other stuff too. I thought I
Mm-hmm.
could just
Mm-hmm.
continue medication and live with the suffering that I was living with. But
Mm-hmm.
it was a urgent care doctor who just kind of essentially slapped me upside the head and said, "No, silly, no, you need to fix your situation and make some improvements and take some steps in your life, in order for this to do anything for you." And so, yeah, don't quit doing the things. Do the journaling, do the work on yourself, seek the help, do the talk therapy, do the body work and the nervous system. I mean, you've got to do it all. You've got to, and it's a lot. It sounds like a lot, but you just,
Mm-hmm.
how do you eat an elephant, right? Just one bite at a time.
One bite at a time. That's right. That's one bite at a time. Um, and not giving up, right? Like knowing that you're
Yeah.
worth it. That there is
Yeah.
beauty, that there's joy, that there's laughter, that there's fun, right? But you need to
Hmm.
want it. And so, whatever it
You do.
takes, it's important to give yourself that chance, that opportunity. And you say something that's really powerful in 12-step programs that are mainly for people with addictions or who grew up in dysfunction. You know, they say we have to sometimes act as if,
Hmm.
right? Just go through the motion, do the things anyway. And after a
Hmm.
while, I believe they say it takes 45 days of doing a particular action before it becomes a habit. Before you know it, it's a habit and you're used to
Hmm.
doing it. But we
Yeah.
we can't expect change to happen overnight. It is like eating an
Right.
elephant, a little bit at a time. And also, when we're doing trauma work, it takes time because you don't
Hmm.
want to go right back into a trauma experience by running too fast through a story, right? I always
Right.
say to people, I don't need to know details of what happened to you unless you want to share it with me. What I need to
Hmm.
know is what is happening as you're telling me. And are we taking our time? As you're telling me the horrific story, are you breathing? Are you feeling
Hmm.
safe? Are you looking around your environment and checking out where you are? Are you grounded?
Hmm.
Are you feeling present? Because if you're telling me a horrific story and you're out of your body, you've just re traumatized yourself. And I assisted you in doing that. So I don't want to
Hmm.
hear a dramatic story. I want to hear how you're managing it today. Right. And
Yeah.
so it's the same kind of idea that this is a process. You said it much earlier, Amy. Healing is not a linear experience. It's more like a circle. It's the way I see it. It's a circular experience. And over time, you do in your own healing journey, you continue to move away from that pivotal moment of crisis, right?
Yeah.
Never to be forgotten. I will never forget that I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. That's part of my story, right? But I have a lot of distance from it, and that is the experiences of healing have gotten me so that I don't no longer feel like I'm right there the year that it happened, right? The month that it
Yeah.
happened. Have some distance from it. And that's what the healing journey feels like. Yeah. There's just a distance from it that you can recall it without as much discomfort or pain or what we call triggers or flashbacks, right? But it happens
Yeah.
because you've taken a little bit at a time. You can go in and out of telling your experience as well. And by that, I mean in and out of different forms of healing. Maybe you're into refurbishing furniture today, and tomorrow you'll be into podcasting. It's still part
Oh
of my
yeah.
healing journey, right? Like I know that my healing journey continues. I'm no longer journaling, burning wood, doing yoga for the purpose of healing. But when I sit with a client and I hold space, that's a new level of healing journey, right? When I
Yep.
decide I'm going to write a book to share what my experience has been, writing that book, I don't know about other people, other authors that write memoir, but I went through the experience again from a distance, right? So that was healing. That was part of my healing journey, writing the actual
Sure.
book. So everything I do is part of my healing journey. Every decision I make, I get to ask myself, is this useful? Right? Do I want to do this today? Every time I make a decision, every time I say yes to myself, it's part of my healing journey because
Yeah.
I wasn't the one who said yes to the abuse, right? That was
Right.
done to me. So today, every boundary I set, people talk about boundaries. Every time I set a boundary, I'm reinforcing for that young child that a boundary was necessary. So I get to do that today. Right? Every time I put myself to sleep, oh, it's time to go to rest. That is healing for me because as a child, I wasn't allowed to sleep peacefully. Right? My abuse happened while I was asleep, woken out of my sleep. But now, when I put myself to sleep, that is me saying, baby, you can go to sleep and you'll be okay. So I
Yeah.
have decided that every action I take, every moment, whether I'm aware of it or not, and most often I try to be aware of it, it's a healing choice that I'm making, right? And that's really
Yeah.
important. And when they choose to continue to heal by eating the right things, by being peaceful, by inviting things that are important to me, by saying no to the people and the places that are not helpful. All of those decisions are part of the healing journey. They don't all
Yeah.
happen in the therapy setting, right? Actually, therapy, I always say to my clients, the session is where we start. What you do when you leave the session is really the healing work, right? Do you remember
Yes.
what we've talked about? Do you implement the things we talk about? Are you treating yourself like you deserve to be loved and cared for? Or are you being self abusive? That's what makes the
Right.
difference in this healing journey. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you're sitting there too and you're thinking that you're just not sure if you want to go through it, or if you can go through it, or if you haven't found the motivation to, one thing that kind of really helped me is coming to terms with the idea, or believing the idea, that somebody needs the healed version of me in the future. So if I can't find it within myself to do it for me right now, you know, somebody is going to need me in my right state of mind, and healed from my traumas in the future. And for some reason, that idea just really was what was able to put me in the state of mind that I was able to run with it, really.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure exactly why be putting my healing as a necessity for other people was something that triggered, the action piece within me. But it did. It's what worked for me.
Well, if you can't do it for yourself, can you do it for someone else?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
That's a very powerful statement. If you can't do it for you, can you do it for your sister? Can you do it
Yeah.
for your child? Can you do it for your
Mm-hmm.
parent? Right? Who can you do it for? Can you do it for the future that needs my story to be told? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very powerful, Amy. I love that.
Yeah.
If you can't do it
Thank you.
for yourself, can you do it for someone else?
Yeah.
Is there a future you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's to compassion, that speaks to gratitude, that speaks
Mm-hmm.
to selflessness in a healthy way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good for
Yeah.
you.
Is
I
it
love
in that moment, I didn't have enough self value or worth, for myself in that time. I didn't have it in me. I was raised just thinking that I wasn't good enough or worth anything. And so, I had to reframe it. Okay. My whole life had been to, up to this point, had been to service others. And
that.
so, I don't feel like I deserve this, but I do know that there are people who need me healed, in the future. And so that's what did it for me. And so if you're
Mhm.
in that state of mind where you just can't get past that part, think of who you can heal yourself for. And that could be your kids. That could be, like you said, writing your book, telling your story for others who need to hear it, who need to understand themselves what they're going through, and your experience can, give them that understanding. That's worth it, right there. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even if it's your pet, right? For those who love animals,
yep,
can you get up just to feed your dog, right?
yeah,
So I think
because
that the
they need
gems,
you.
because they need you and they depend on you. The
Yep.
gems here are we were created in the image of goodness, in the image of God, goddess, right? And so
Hmm.
to remember that, and if that is
Hmm.
true, then you deserve to be well. You already are.
Yeah.
Even if you don't believe it, know that you are, right? So
Yeah.
affirming, what do I need to hear? Because the negative thoughts are going to come on their own. So what do I need to
Mm.
remember? What do I need to affirm? What do I need to
Yeah.
tell myself? Right? Always trying
Hmm.
to distinguish, is what I'm experiencing right now real? It may feel real, but
Yes.
is it real? Is it of today, or is that yesterday, or is that tomorrow's anxiety? And the only
Hmm.
way to stop and know that is, can you slow down what you're experiencing in the moment by taking a
Hmm.
breath, by taking a walk, by doing something, using your resources, calming your nervous system enough to then be able to ask yourself, am I really in danger? Or do I just feel
Yeah.
like I'm endangered? Right? So we honor what comes up, but we don't honor it as the only truth. We honor it as an invitation to assess. Right? I
Hmm.
think that those are the true charms. And if you need support, there's no need to feel ashamed of that.
Oh no.
As human
Nope.
beings, you may just need some support, some medical
Hmm.
attention, some intervention from a therapist, to listen to a good podcast, right?
Yep.
Whatever it is you need, know that only you know what you need and what's going to work for you. And you deserve to have
Yep.
that. We deserve to have
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because as Amy would say, your future self will be needed somewhere out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so true. I never thought I'd be doing this, but here I am. But it's something that spoke to me and my soul,
Mm.
and I believe that God put it on me to, not only put my story out there, but to compile all of this information and all of these other stories and all of these expert opinions and different healing modalities together, so that there is one place that people can go to collect the information that they need and get the ideas that they need to just continue on that journey. I wish I would have had something like that when I was going through my process, but I went to the library and went down one rabbit hole after another and, studied all of this information just kind of on my own because I needed to not only, kind of like you understand why these things happened and how they happened. And then, through that, you've created, your whole career around, just educating yourself because you needed to understand the things that were going on. And that's there's so much power in that as well. We could have a whole nother episode just talking about that right there. But it's just kind of the way that it works. And yeah, I wish I would have had something like this to turn to back then, but we didn't have this kind of technology at that time.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I remember going to the library and printing reams of papers from articles and books, and now it's so accessible, right? It's right at the tip of our fingers. The only thing that I would warn people on today is that we still need human contact, right?
Yes.
So get the information and go out there and use it. Let yourself have life. However it is that you do that, we need the human interaction to put to test, right? To put to test what we're gaining, what we're learning, to practice what we're doing. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I could just talk to you all day long. You just have so much insight, and your voice is just so soothing. I tell you what. I wish I'd have known you back in the day when I was needing all my help because, man, I'd listen to you all the time.
Well, thank you again, Amy. I'm just, I'm moved by, like I said, I really do mean it, passion from pain. And we can all gain passion and gain joy and insight. Who would have known that a little kid, sexually abused by her sister and their spouse would be a trauma expert? Who would have known? If you had told me that then, I would have said, hell no, I don't want that trade. But since it's here, since it happened, right? I might as well make use of it. So please, again, for the listeners, whatever it is you're experiencing, know that it can be useful to someone else. And I wish you hadn't gone through it, right? Like I'm not saying, well, let's all go out and have an experience. But since it happened, how do we get something out of it since it happened, right? Yeah.
Turn it into something good.
That's right.
Make something good from it. I love that. And so, I love that. Is there anything else that you want to add before we close today, or anything you want to leave the audience with?
Not particularly something other than the encouragement, Amy, that we all have the ability to heal and we all deserve to be well. And if you're feeling lonely, there's someone out there that you can reach out to. I'm a resource to find on all social media. Just Google my name. My book is a wonderful story of resilience, running through darkness, a memoir of a spiritual warrior. And that's what we are. We become warriors. So using my book, there are tons of hotlines. Don't let yourself be isolated or feel alone. There's someone out there for you to talk to at all times. That's where I want to land. Yeah. And if you want to know more about it, then you visit my website. Amy, I'm sure, will share all of my contacts and social media. There's a lot of support out here. Don't do it alone because there's no need to do it alone. Yeah. The suffering happens alone. The healing happens in community. I think that would be my closing statement, Amy. Stay in community. Don't isolate.
Yeah. I love that. I think I want to put that on a t-shirt. That needs to be on a t-shirt.
The suffering happens.
I love it.
Happens in isolation. Healing must happen in community. Absolutely.
I love that. And absolutely all of your contact information is going to be down in the description of the podcast for Spotify and iHeartRadio and all those platforms, and then also in the YouTube description. And just I just got to say, the strength and the courage that you just exude through the screen here, it's just so
Mm.
amazing. And you can tell that you have been through this and that you understand from a level of somebody who's had the experience. And that's sometimes hard to find. And I love that the understanding that you have is just on a deeper level than most people have. And I
Well,
think that's what just makes you
let
stand out in the
me
crowd.
tell you, since we're kind of just chatting, even though we're still recording, let me just tell you
Oh,
that the purpose of my book
yeah.
came from, like I told myself, you can write one more book on how to heal from sexual abuse, or you can write your own personal experience, because so many of us human beings, particularly women, have had some form of trauma, severe trauma like sexual abuse. And there's so much shame and secrecy. And if I was abused, then will people judge me? And Amy, I got sick and tired of working in organizations with a bunch of survivors as
Yeah.
counselors and healers that had not done their own work. How could you,
Mhm.
right? How could you
Yeah.
support and walk someone through a journey when you yourself are not willing to go through your journey? Again, I said earlier, it doesn't mean that you have to be a drug addict to work with drug addicts, or a survivor of
Mhm.
violence to be able to address that. But if you have a history, please do your own work. So I decided, no,
Mhm.
I'm going to be brave enough. You're right. And I'm going to tell my story, and I'm going to tell it how it was, and I'm going to tell how I healed some from it, and how every day it's a healing journey. Every day I choose to get up and say, thank you, Great Spirit, for a new day when I am free from abuse. Thank you, right? And that's
Mhm.
nothing to be ashamed of. That's something to offer hope to others. And that's why I wrote my
Absolutely.
book the way I wrote it, right? We don't need one
Yeah.
more how to. We know how to. Now show me the people
Yep.
who've done it and who are living through
Yes.
it, right? And that's who I am.
Yes.
Someone who's
Exactly.
living through it. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. You have hit the nail on the head right there. I love it. Well, this conversation with you, it was more than an interview. It was a healing experience today
Thank
for
you.
the audience and for myself.
Thank
Your
you.
words
And for me
remind us that
too, right?
your words
Yeah,
remind us that trauma doesn't define who we are, but
no,
it does reveal what we're capable of transforming. That healing
absolutely.
isn't linear, it's layered, body, mind, spirit working together to rebuild the truth of who we've always, been or were destined to become, and you
That's
show that
right.
path through the pain isn't about escaping the darkness. It's about learning to walk with it until it becomes the light in your life.
Absolutely.
If Santa's message spoke to you today, please connect with her with the links in the description, and her work at Holistic Psychotherapy by Santa, and read her powerful memoir, Running Through Darkness, Memoir of a Spiritual Warrior. And remember, your pain is not your punishment. Okay,
That's
it's
right.
your permission to rise. And this is Passion from Pain, where we turn survival into strength and healing into power. And I'm your host, Amy Pease, reminding you that your story isn't over, it is just beginning. And I love you guys. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you, Santa. I love you so much.
You, Amy. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Yeah.